Sometimes you don't need a modern graphics card, and we're going to prove that today as we've tested the R9 270X, and in fact, let me get it. And yeah, you can have a lot of fun on a graphics card which many people consider to be e-waste, so let's see how it gets on. This is the start of a new series here on the channel, and it's called the GPU Vault, where we'll be taking a look at older graphics cards which are way past their sell-by date and see how they stack up in modern games, and yeah, some older ones as well, because most modern games aren't going to run on a GPU like this. But regardless, I think showcasing these GPUs will remain very relevant, especially as PC gaming is getting ever so more expensive. So you budget gamers out there, I think this series will be for you. But back to the R9 270X, and this GPU doesn't really have a lot of appealing specs. It's only got 2 GB of VRAM, which means you won't really be playing anything relatively new, I suppose, at least for the AAA games. And drivers which are 3 years out of date certainly aren't going to help that as well. But I say that's not going to stop us, because we've tested it at 1080p, that's the resolution, well, the max resolution I would recommend for this graphics card, and all testing has been done in our Ryzen 7, I almost said Ryzen 9, 7800X3D testing PC. I know that's a supremely overkill CPU for a GPU like this, but we're testing to see what the graphics card can do, and the 7800X3D is definitely going to allow that. To be honest, I think you'd be fine with like a 4th gen i7. As for the R9 270X, it's been left at its stock out of the box setting, so no overclocking has been applied, and we've also tested using the latest legacy driver, which I believe off the top of my head is 22.6.1. But with that being said, let's get into the benchmarks. Counter-Strike 2 is a perfect game for a budget graphics card like this. It's really not that heavy on the GPU, truth be known, and it hits the CPU quite a bit more. But still, the R9 270X managed to get over 120 FPS on average, which is a fairly competitive frame rate if you ask me. And the 1% lows at 79 are also looking pretty good, so there's no problems here. Just make sure you got a pretty decent CPU for this game, as it does really hammer it. We're going back in time to Halo Master Chief Collection on the original preset, and yeah, performance is not really going to be a problem here. You're getting more than 110 FPS on average, and the frame time is looking smooth with a 1% low of 91 frames per second. Yes, this GPU should play Halo Reach on the Master Chief Collection perfectly fine, and yeah, that's what it does. Rainbow Six Siege X is not the hardest game in the world to run, but it's probably the hardest out of some of the more competitive games. Even then, the R9 270X is getting 90 FPS on the dot, so that's not terrible if you ask me. And the frame time is looking a bit, let's say, inconsistent. We've got a 1% low of 52. Can you play Rainbow Six Siege? Probably. Should you on this GPU? Maybe not. I like including some classic Valve games in these tests, because you can just get an absolute bucket load of frame rate and they're very fun titles as well. Left 4 Dead 2, for instance, you're getting like 240 FPS, which is absolutely incredible. And then the 1% low at 150 means the frame time is pretty smooth. It's more than playable. You could just lock this game to, let's say, 120 if you've got a higher refresh monitor, which I'm not sure why you'd have that with this GPU, but it's playable. You've got options open to you. Skyrim Special Edition defaulted to the high preset, but I don't think it should have. In hindsight, we probably should have tested medium. This is because the average frame rate at 55 really isn't too bad, considering there's an engine lock at 60 FPS. But the 1% low is very questionable at 30 frames per second. Now, I think this is related to the 2 GB of VRAM, so here what I'll do is go to the medium preset. You should get much smoother performance there. I picked up LEGO Star Wars, the Complete Saga, or whatever the newest one's called. Anyways, the 270X does a pretty decent job here on the high preset. 83 FPS on average with a 1% low of 61 is totally fine performance, so if you wanted to relive some childhood memories and play some LEGO Star Wars, this GPU will do it. But if you want to get a bit more competitive, Fortnite will run fine on this thanks to the Performance API, and it's the legacy version which runs on DirectX 11. But you're going to be getting more than 180 FPS on average, and don't worry, that frame time is still looking very good at 128. So if you wanted to get into budget competitive Fortnite, a GPU like this will do it. We've had one Valve Classic, we've got to add another with Half-Life 2, and the frame rate for this game is just absolutely insane. You're getting just shy of 300 FPS, that will do very nicely, thank you so much. and the frame time at just under 230 is very nice. The game is rendering very smoothly, and this is something we'd expect from a game that's launched 7 years before this GPU even come out, so yeah, this is expected. And then we have GTA 5. The PC port released 2 years after the launch of this graphics card, and yeah, even on the high preset, we're still getting very good performance. 72 FPS on average, very nice, with a very decent 1% low of 55. So there's zero rendering problems here, and you can enjoy GTA 5 and GTA Online, at least until GTA 6 comes out, because this GPU is certainly not going to run that. So overall, the 270X is really not that horrendous in the games we tested today. Admittedly, they weren't the newest AAA games, because imagine trying to play an Unreal Engine 5 game on this. It's just not going to work, is it? Even though Fortnite's Unreal Engine 5. But I digress. But the fact of the matter is, you can have a very fun gaming experience in some absolutely legendary games like Halo Master Chief Collection, GTA 5, Skyrim Special Edition. These will run perfectly fine on this GPU. I know Skyrim was a bit of a funny one with the 1% lows, but if you were to lower this to the medium preset, perhaps performance should be a lot better. I believe this might be VRAM related, so yeah, that's something to look out for. And if you wanted to play competitive games, as long as you've got a relatively decent CPU like a 4th gen Xeon or i7, they're very cheap these days, yeah, you're going to be getting pretty decent frame rates in Counter-Strike, Fortnite and Rainbow Six Siege. It won't be a problem, trust me. You don't need a 7800X3D here. With this GTN graphics card being 12 years old, naturally there's going to be some drawbacks. It hasn't seen a driver update for more than 3 years now, so a lot of modern games probably won't even start on this GPU, one of which was Cyberpunk, which kind of surprised me because we tested this last year and other GTN graphics cards, and they opened Cyberpunk and got pretty okay frame rates for the most part. So Cyberpunk not launching on this is kind of a weird one. I'm not sure if that's the case for all 270Xs out there, but it was certainly the case for me. And if it can launch them, it doesn't mean you're going to be having a great experience because it's only got 2 GB of VRAM. Imagine playing something like Stalker 2 with that amount of VRAM. It's not really going to work. And it doesn't really have the core horsepower there either. So overall, it's just not going to be a great experience for AAA games. But if you want to play modern AAA games with relatively decent frame rates, I will have modern budget graphics cards linked in the description below with my Amazon affiliate links. I do make a small kickback from these, but it's at no extra cost to you. But if you want to kick back, relax and play some classic video games, a GPU like the R9 270X is going to play them just fine. It played them well 12 years ago or whenever the game launched, and it will play them well in 2025 and beyond. But if you want to play modern AAA games and play them decently at that, we made a video on a decent budget graphics card which you can watch up here. With that being said though, I'll catch you in the next one.